Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about glazing our clay project. And I have a few of these cupcakes that have been glazed as examples. Some student work. We're going to learn about glaze. So glaze is a glassy paint that is applied to a ceramic object, and when it's fired in the kiln, it changes properties. We're also going to talk about the stages of clay. Wet clay is clay you can shape, clay that you work with when you come to class. And next we have leather hard, which this is clay that's dry enough to maintain form and wet enough to carve into. Bone dry is clay that has been dried completely and is ready to be fired in the kiln. A kiln is an oven that can reach really high temperatures, and this is my kiln that's at 1,084 degrees. They can go up to 2,000 degrees. After being fired in the kiln, you have bisqueware. And then once you paint your project with glaze, it goes back in the kiln for a second firing, and then it becomes a glazed piece. You might be familiar with pottery and other plates like that, coffee cups around the house. We're going to talk about how many coats of glaze you need and what the effects of that glaze are.
I can't wait. I love painting. I see you have a variety of colors here. The primary colors. Oh, is that the glaze? This special kind of paint?
Yep. It's different than the normal paint we use.
All right, I'm ready.
So to get started, grab a variety of brushes. Large brushes for large areas, medium brushes for medium areas, small brushes for small areas. This will be better for your time. I clean the brushes before I use them, and here I'm just going to mix some colors up. I got red and blue making purple. I added some white to make light purple. Make sure that your brush is really dry after you clean it. That way it's not watering down the glaze. And I'm working on my first coat of paint here.
All right, all done.
Not quite. I still got to paint the inside, and I also need to paint a second coat and even a third coat of paint. So paint all of the areas, and once they dry, you're ready to start painting a second coat on. I'm going to show you briefly painting one coat and two coat. I'm not going to show you adding the third coat though, because I think you get the idea. You paint an entire coat on, let it dry, and then paint a second coat on, let it dry, and then paint a third coat on, let it dry. If you only have time to do two coats, that's okay. But if you want a really dark and rich color, you need to put at least 3 coats on. I'm not going to glaze the bottom of this frosting, and you'll see why in a minute. Yeah, I'm not going to glaze that.
Why not? What happens?
Well, if you get glaze on the bottom, remove it with a sponge, or if you only have a wet paper towel, that'll do. But it's really important that you don't glaze the bottom of your clay projects. Of course, clean your palette, clean your brushes completely with soap. Put soap in your hand and clean them so that they're nice and clean for the next person. Put it in the drying rack upright so that it can dry. Here's the piece after it's been fired. And you can see the inside. Here's a few examples of other pieces that students created. Look at the white areas on this one. That's called nooks and crannies. And first of all, this is a piece with 1 coat of glaze. That's what a piece looks like with 2 coats, and then the last one is 3 coats. When you don't put your paint on these nooks and crannies, these little white areas, it shows up. If you glaze on the bottom, your piece will get stuck to the shelf and I'll have to smash it with a hammer to remove it. So remove glaze on the bottom of your project with a sponge. I hope you enjoy glazing your clay project. Have fun!